Welcome. I'm so glad that you've decided to join us again tonight. It's wonderful to have this time together. I know that during this time we're looking for encouragement and inspiration, and I know that it's a time that we decided this week that we were going to spend some time each evening, especially focusing our minds on Jesus, because his love, the power of his love, is transforming and gives us hope and encouragement and faith. And so we're looking at Mary Magdalene in particular in her life this week, just the way Jesus' love really impacted her, how it changed her. And her life gives us so much hope. It's so encouraging. So we're going to be talking with someone really special tonight about that, an old friend of mine, Nadine Templar, and I'm really excited to spend this time with her. I'm honored that she's willing to come on and use her time, donate her time to us tonight. So that means a lot. When I think of Nadine, I think of London and India, and I think of passion for Jesus. And a love for people, an incredible love, all of her Christian life for people, like this really special time. We've had so many different times over the years, and I just think about really what you think about, but what you think about when you probably hear her name or see her is you think of Hope Worldwide. And you've probably been on, or a lot of you have been on, volunteer corps or Hope Youth Corps with her, or really communicated with her about some of those things. And I know that we had some young people in our congregation that went with her to Manila this winter. And while they were there, they had a hurricane and lived through it and experienced it all together, which is really powerful to have happen together, And so I know that they really came back just so encouraged by the time together and how God had really rescued them, but also their time with Nadine had been really special. And they were very, very grateful for that. And I know that honestly, when they were there, I kept thinking, Nadine is with them. So I think that they will have this amazing experience and time together, So it was so encouraging to my heart just to know that she was with them and they were with her. So anyway, but tonight we do want to just welcome you, Nadine. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
I would just love to know how you're doing and where you are and kind of what's going on in your life, right, or in your city or in your life right now or whatever.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. And, you're one of my heroes, and I talk about you very, very often. I'll share more later, but you've had an impact on my whole life. Where we are in Northern Virginia right now. We've been here for almost 3 years. My husband works for the State Department now, so we move around the world as self-supported missionaries. So, but we had to come to Washington for a short time. So we've been here for almost 3 years, and prayerfully, with everything that's happening right now, but prayerfully, we're moving to Kathmandu, Nepal, in July as our next posting, so we can go and be with the disciples there, be with the Hope Work, and offer whatever help we can offer. And the job I do with Hope Worldwide is very portable, so I can do it from anywhere in the world. As long as I have my laptop and my phone, I'm good to go. So yes, and we're doing fine. I mean, it is very challenging for everyone right now, but we're okay. God is taking care of us, and we're staying at home and doing our work from wherever we are. So thanks for asking.
Well, we're glad that you're safe and that your family's virus free. We're praying that you stay that way. So we
Yes.
need you. You're very precious to us in the kingdom, and your work is very valuable. So anyway, we're glad that you're well. The reason that we ask you here tonight is to really talk to us about Mary Magdalene. And, Jesus reached into the darkness and he pulled her into the light, and he rescued her. And we really believe that he can rescue us. And
Yes.
that spiritually he can give us strength and help us get through this time and help us with our fears and worries, and just focus. We want to focus on him and his power, but in her life, and how amazing her life was, ended up, considering where she started. And so this idea of he looked past her. I mean, he saw her, he looked beyond her past. It's like she
Yes.
had this past, and we know that, but it's not the past that the world always labels her with. She wasn't really a sex worker or a prostitute. I mean, as far as the Bible says, it never mentions anything about those things.
Right.
That she was just a woman that had had 7 demons, and Jesus taken out. He rescued her from those 7 demons. And I don't know much about demons, or what all that exactly means, but I know that it's darkness and it's bad. And I know that the people, like the demoniacs, the people in the Bible that had demon possession, they never were the people that reached out for help. Somebody else would kind of reach, beg Jesus to help them,
Right.
help my person I love. Or they would, try to get, like the demoniac in the graveyard. He'd be like, get away from me. He really didn't ask for help.
Hmm.
And somehow that almost gives me more hope, in that
Right.
Jesus can rescue us even when we're not maybe looking for him, or
Hmm.
we're wanting to push him away. So anyway, we're just excited to hear from you about Mary, your thoughts about this, and Mary Magdalene, and anything you want to share with us. We'll be happy.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Even as you speak, it's almost like you're speaking about my personal experience becoming a Christian. I grew up in France, in a family that did not believe in God. We never went to church, never talked about God, never read the Bible. There was no Jesus, no religion whatsoever. Um, but I remember as a little child, I was a shy, introverted little kid, and I read a lot. And I used to read a lot of books, and I remember being very inspired by stories of people like Mother Teresa and Joan of Arc and all these heroes. And I remember thinking as a little child, when I grow up, I want to make a difference. I want to do something that will help people, something like that. And I remember watching the news, and this was in the late 60s, and we had a little black and white TV, and I remember there was a famine in Biafra in Eastern Africa, and I'll never forget that. It had a deep impact on me. I felt that it's so unfair. It's so unfair. Some people have so much and others have so little. And that kind of shaped my thinking as a 10-year-old. And then, of course, I grew up. I always loved kids. And another idea I had is I want to run an orphanage one day. But I grew up and I actually became very worldly, very, very, very worldly. I mean, I had no God in my life. I had no sense of right and wrong and why we shouldn't do certain things. And France is a very secular society, and very sinful. And so I was wild. I partying, lots of boyfriends, drinking, and so on. And by the time I was 21, I felt like I'd lived a life already. And I was a good student, though. So I got offered a job as soon as I graduated, teaching at London University. So I moved to the UK at the beginning of October 1983. And within 10 days of landing in London, I was invited to church by Douglas Jacoby. And, I was intellectually curious. And so I thought, okay, I'll go along. I had no intention of being a Christian. Um, so I went to church, didn't really like the service that much, but I remember the preacher and I remember the sermon. And the preacher was James Lloyd. And he was such an amazing preacher. And he said something in his sermon that really struck me. He said, you have to decide today what you're going to do about this Jesus. And I remember thinking, wow, well, if Jesus is who he says he is, then I've got to figure this out, because I think I may have to make a choice here. So I went out that very day and I bought a Bible, and I started reading it. I love reading. So I read it a lot, voraciously. I read through the whole New Testament. I read a lot of the Old Testament. And over the next few weeks, I went to all the church events. I went to all the Bible talks, and I argued a lot. Now, Dr. Jacoby was the perfect person to answer my questions. But the thing that happened, Lisa, over those weeks, as I read the Bible every day, is I met Jesus. And I met this amazing man. And he was everything I wanted to be. Everything I wanted to do was represented in his life. He had this amazing combination of compassion and love and empathy and connection with all kinds of different individuals. But he was also passionate and driven and zealous and strong. And, you know, I was someone who wanted to do something with my life, but I didn't think about God or anything like that. But when I met Jesus, I just fell in love. I mean, I was like, this is it. So, you know, about 7 weeks after I was invited to church, I was baptized. And that was pretty quick from, you know, coming from where I was coming from. And I remember my baptism, Lisa. I came out of the waters and I just burst into tears. I just started sobbing. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that my life had been changed. I was so grateful. It was unbelievable. And I still feel the same way today. I feel that sense of wow, as if I got baptized yesterday. It's the same. It's amazing. And I know you've always talked about that, Lisa. I remember being a young Christian, and you would say things that, you know, either I heard you on tapes or you visited London a couple of times, and you would say, it's all about Jesus. It's all about Jesus. And that really stuck with me. And my husband says the same thing. He's always like, read the Gospels, stay in the Gospels. You know, the advice he gives to young preachers, you know, preach from the Gospels. I think sometimes, you know, we can become so intellectual about our faith, and it doesn't always connect with the hearts of people. My favorite passage of scripture is in Luke 7, when Jesus raises the widow of Nain's son. I love that passage. It's unbelievable. You know, and what I love about it is Jesus sees this woman out in the distance, and she is heartbroken. She is devastated. She's a widow already. Now she's lost her only son, and she is crying, and it's such a sad, sad moment. But Jesus sees her, and Jesus goes up to her and he touches the coffin and he says to her, don't cry. And the tenderness of that moment, the intimacy of that moment is so powerful. I love that side of Jesus. And then, of course, you know, Jesus' interactions with women, with Mary Magdalene. Oh my goodness, you know, I love Mary Magdalene. She's my favorite woman in the whole Bible. I actually named one of my daughters Madeleine because that's what Magdalene is in French. But the transformation of her life, what you were talking about earlier, she was always someone very passionate. it just, when Jesus met her and healed her, all that passion in her got channeled to good things. And she was always the one that was there. She was always with Jesus. She was the first one there when he came back from the dead. She was always there with him. And I think it came out of that gratitude, that thankfulness, that her life was so transformed. And I can so relate to that. I feel it. I feel like I did not deserve to be saved. And God brought me all the way to London, and I did not deserve any of it. I've been a Christian now almost 37 years. And, when I was baptized, I thought, well, this is going to be challenging. I remember thinking, if I'm still around in 6 months, it's going to be a miracle. But, I thought I couldn't do it. I said, there's no way I can be this good for that long. But I'm still here, and it's unbelievable. And I think, there are so many people like me around who may not believe in God and may not even be searching for God, but they're so open. And it's just that they haven't met Jesus yet. The real Jesus, not the religious Jesus, the real Jesus. So, but as I said, it feels like yesterday. And one of the things I decided very early on when I became a Christian is that, okay, this is going to be tough to be a disciple, but if I'm going to be a disciple, I want to be a full-on disciple.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to really go for it. I'm going to be committed. I'm going to be, at everything. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be present. And the thing that I decided was that I don't want to have any regrets. So I always think about that. When I die and I meet Jesus and I look at him in the eyes, I want to be able to say, okay, I was not perfect, far from it, made tons of mistakes along the way, but I have no regrets. I've done everything to the full. And that's what kind of drives me when I have a choice to make, a decision to make. I always try to pick the most challenging option, the more committed one, the one that's going to keep me on my toes, the one that's going to keep me just overwhelmed enough that I have to rely on God. And so, even now, I mean, we're moving to Nepal, and people are like, you're still going? I'm like, yeah, I mean, why not,
I love it.
So, and, the thing I think about is this world, we're hurting right now.
Yeah.
We're hurting. I mean, there are people who are losing loved ones and they can't even be with them.
Right.
There are people losing their jobs. They don't know how they're going to pay their rent. This world needs Jesus, but they need the real Jesus. They need the full gospel Jesus. It's not just about inviting people to church or giving them an invitation or, evangelizing, or it's about showing them the Jesus that heals.
Yes.
The Jesus that connects.
Yes.
The Jesus that speaks to their heart. And I think, so many of our young people are looking for that. Yes. Our youth are not looking for religion. Our youth are looking for authenticity. They're looking for a connection. They're looking for reciprocity. And I know you talk a lot about mutuality. They're looking for that. They're looking for, I serve you as you serve me, kind of connection. And I think if we show people Jesus and not just tell them about Jesus, I think we can be very good at telling people about Jesus, but how about showing them Jesus? And then people, like the way I was, a worldly, non-believing young woman, I was actually very open, but I needed to meet Jesus. And we don't want people to miss out on that, on the real Jesus, the Jesus I met when I read the Bible when I was 21, the Jesus that changed Mary Magdalene's life the Jesus that changed my life. And so I think the world, people are open right now. We've got to take this opportunity to reach out and show them what Jesus is really like, because he's pretty awesome.
Yes, he is. He's the real thing. He's what people are really looking for, right? Oh, I'm so grateful you've shared so much your heart. This is awesome. And I do think that showing Jesus, not just telling them about Jesus, is really what it's all about. And I think for us, in sort of sitting in our homes right now, quarantined, it's been challenging to figure out how to do that. And
Mm,
some are able to be out and serving. We've got so many serving within the church, older members or people that are sick. We only have one member so far in the hospital, and so we've got several that are positive with the virus.
right, right,
So we're praying, and a lot of our people are, delivering food and delivering medicine and whatever,
right,
trying to help. But I know that outside, like to shine outside the church, is one of the things that we really want to do right now.
right.
And so we're looking for ideas and ways to
Mhm.
do that, and I know that we've, even this week, just trying to think of ways that we could reach out as far as doing these videos and us having some time together in the evenings to talk about what's giving us faith and what's giving us hope and how to encourage one another. We've got a devotional coming up on Friday night, and Dion Davis is going to be speaking from Baltimore for us, and just about I have seen the Lord, she proclaimed.
Mhm.
And so I'm
Mhm.
excited about that. But the part of it was being able to have something to share with people. We've got all these little evites and things so that we can share at least the time to think about something else and be encouraged. And there's going to be music and
Right.
whatever, just trying to find some way to reach out. And I know that also, we've got people I think that are volunteering to do food bank stuff and stuff like that as well, which is great. Because I know so many people are sitting at home thinking, I want to help. What can I do? But they've been
Yeah.
quarantined.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if you have any ideas for us, or if but if you come up with some, let us know. Okay.
Sure.
And we'll
Sure.
start working that out. And I know that when we get through this phase of this, hopefully then we will all have a deeper heart,
Right.
like a deeper love in our heart for our fellow man. Like we'll be able to look at those around us and realize that everybody's important, and we should be grateful for everyone and all that they do for each other, and then also be that shining light. I feel like you reflect the love of Jesus. You reflect Jesus um, in ways that, to be honest, I think I would like to, and I think a lot of us would like to. And I know that you don't want us to say that. That probably makes you uncomfortable, but it's really true. Your example of going out and doing your best. You were a young Christian, one of the things that I always thought of when I thought of you was radical, is that you were all about radical. Whatever was the most radical, and not just radical for radical's sake, but that, like, you were just what you described, but I'd never heard you describe it that way. That when a choice or an idea or an opportunity presents itself, you choose whatever's the most difficult, the thing that's going to take the most commitment. And I just think that's such an upward call in our lives. And it's like I think that all of us would like to be there and be that way. And but I know that we have to start with where we are, and some are really scared right now.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
well, I think we're all scared right now. I mean, it's like it would be odd maybe not to be a little frightened.
Right.
The whole world's turned upside down. So, but I think that having Jesus and that knowledge of him and being able to walk with him through it makes it
Yeah.
a completely different experience than
Right.
people that don't have him, right?
Right. Yes, and a phone call, we have so many ways to connect now. I mean, if this had happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it would have been very different, but we can pick up the phone and call. And even like Jesus said to the woman, don't cry. We can tell each other, don't be afraid. It's going to be okay. So at least we can do that.
I'm glad that you were the one good to share with us tonight. I
Well,
really.
thank you. Thank you so much for being such an inspiration to me. And do let Steve know that we're watching Upside Down.
That's wonderful.
Well, I mean, it's so inspiring, and I want my kids to see it. And, I have 5 kids. They've all watched it many times as they were growing up. So, but this is a perfect time to watch it. People have time. And so, wherever you are, whoever is listening to this, please watch it. It's extremely inspiring.
Well, I appreciate that, and he will too, very much. And of course, there's three of them.
Right.
There's three versions, and
Yeah,
all of them are on YouTube and free. So
that's right. Yeah.
wonderful. Yes, yes. So, but thank you so much for being with us. Please stay healthy, and
Hmm.
stay safe, and know that we are praying for you in
Thank you.
Portland. We love you.
Love you too. Okay. Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye. It was wonderful to have Nadine with us tonight, and I'm so glad that you joined us. And I want to remind you that tomorrow night we are going to meet again at 7 o'clock. And I hope you're using the comment section to be able to sort of have some fellowship time. Um, but tomorrow night you can join us, and our own, I love saying that, Mackenzie Brewster is going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking with her really about how Mary Magdalene stuck with Jesus through the hard times, through everything, and that he sticks with us, and that we need to stick with him. We need to cling to him, especially during this time. So I love you guys. We'll see you all tomorrow night at 7. Thank you. Good night.